You don't need a breakdown to change your life, you just need to pay attention. Most people chase happiness for decades and never realize it's built one quiet habit at a time. What if everything you're looking for is already here, hidden in the smallest thing you keep ignoring? In our world of speed and spectacle, we're conditioned to expect immediate results. We chase instant success, overnight healing, dramatic reinvention. But reality rarely conforms to our urgency. And when progress doesn't come fast, we give up, or worse, we believe something is wrong with us. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, offers another path. His words, "Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself," remind us that peace is not a flash of brilliance, but the slow burn of steady practice. This isn't a promise of quick salvation. It's a quiet commitment to small steps, repeated often, with care. On this journey, we'll explore the Stoic path to inner flourishing. We'll see why the smallest actions often carry the deepest meaning. We'll learn how the Stoics trained their minds to accept life with courage, patience, and calm. And we'll uncover practical ways to begin, right now, crafting a more peaceful existence not through grand gestures, but through mindful repetition. As you listen, don't try to absorb it all at once. Let it settle, like morning fog lifting gently from the trees. Stoicism, at its heart, is a philosophy of practice. It doesn't ask us to believe, it invites us to do. It divides life into two domains, what we can control and what we cannot. The former includes our thoughts, choices, and actions. The latter encompasses almost everything else: the weather, the economy, other people's behavior, even our own bodies at times. The Stoic aim isn't to control the uncontrollable, but to master our inner responses to it. Not to avoid difficulty, but to meet it with grace. Not to eliminate emotion, but to clarify it. This brings us to the essence of Zeno's insight. When he says well-being is attained little by little, he's speaking not only of time, but of effort, consistent, often invisible effort. Like drops of water smoothing a stone, small habits reshape us. A calm life isn't built in a weekend retreat. It's forged in the moments you choose silence over argument, stillness over reaction, thought over impulse. The Stoic life is not flashy, it's deliberate. Consider the modern myth of transformation, the viral success story, the life-changing book, the 5-step hack. These stories are appealing, but misleading. They suggest that change happens fast. The Stoics disagree. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, not even the grape or the fig. If you say, 'Now I want a fig,' I answer, it needs time." Human beings, like fruit, need time to ripen. What matters most is not speed, but direction. Picture a craftsman returning each day to shape the same piece of wood. At first, the changes are imperceptible. A single stroke of the chisel seems meaningless. But over weeks, months, something emerges. A sculpture, a form. So too with our character. You don't become patient in a day. You don't become brave because you read a quote on bravery. You become these things by acting on them little by little, over and over. It's tempting to overlook the power of small steps. Drinking a cup of tea without distraction, turning off your phone for 1 hour, saying thank you, even when you feel annoyed. These actions may seem trivial, but in Stoic thought, they are profound. Each one is a movement of the soul toward tranquility. As Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." What he meant is that we spend our lives chasing what's outside: ambition, opinion, sensation, while neglecting the soil beneath our feet. The Stoics teach that well-being is not found in some distant, ideal future. It is found here, in the structure of your day, the clarity of your thoughts, the manner in which you rise, breathe, walk, and rest. The practice is simple, but never easy, and it begins with attention. So ask yourself, what are you building today? Every decision, no matter how small, is a brick? Are you constructing a shelter or a prison? Do your habits reflect the life you say you want or the life you're settling for? These are not questions to answer quickly. Let them move through you. There's a reason ancient traditions from Stoicism to Buddhism to Hindu Vedanta share this emphasis on the moment, on the present act. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, "You have a right to perform your duties, but not to the fruits thereof." This is the same idea. Focus not on outcome, but on right action. The reward is not in achieving, but in aligning your actions with virtue, moment to moment. Imagine now your life as a long path through a quiet forest. You cannot see the end, and perhaps that's not the point. But every step, if taken with presence, becomes its own reward. You don't need to sprint, you don't need to leap. You need only to walk deliberately, and with care. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, if you seek tranquility, do less, or more accurately, do what's essential. Which brings a double satisfaction. To do less, better. There is beauty in the slow, there is wisdom in restraint, and there is immense strength in choosing the steady path, even when others rush past. The world may not reward stillness, but your soul does. In our culture, progress is often measured by visible success, but the Stoic view is different. Progress is the quiet moment when you notice you didn't react with anger, when you chose truth over approval, when you went to sleep a little earlier, woke up a little clearer. These are not small things, they are the architecture of a meaningful life. And so, we return to Zeno. Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself. It is the sum of your attention, your effort, your care. It is the fruit of patient labor, gentle reflection, and quiet courage. Let this be the beginning. A reminder, not to seek grand transformation, but to begin where you are. One breath, one thought, one action, that is all it takes. Zeno of Citium wasn't born a philosopher, he was born a merchant's son. He sailed ships, traded goods, and lived a life driven by external pursuits. But everything changed the day the sea took it all away. In a single moment of shipwreck, Zeno lost his cargo and with it, his identity. Washed ashore in Athens, he wandered into a bookstore and stumbled upon the teachings of Socrates. That encounter didn't promise wealth or success, it planted the seed of a philosophy that would shape empires and echo across centuries. The man who once chased profit began to chase virtue. And in that transformation, Stoicism was born. Zeno's most famous saying, "Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself," encapsulates the heart of what he discovered. Well-being isn't a prize you win. It isn't a moment of enlightenment that crashed down in a flash of clarity. It is cultivated, slowly, deliberately, just like a tree doesn't become strong overnight. The mind does not become steady through epiphany alone. Each drop of discipline, each thought examined, each emotion paused upon, that is the work. Zeno's Stoicism set the foundation, but it was Epictetus who turned that foundation into daily practice. Born a slave, Epictetus knew better than anyone the limits of control. He taught that we must distinguish between and what's up to us, our choices, our judgments, and what is not, everything else. His life was hard, yet his mind was free. He believed that even the smallest act of restraint was a step toward inner freedom. No great thing is created suddenly, he said, echoing Zeno. Self-mastery, to Epictetus, wasn't dramatic. It was built in silence, in solitude, in resisting the pull to react. Imagine being a slave, beaten, ordered, used, and yet, Epictetus didn't crumble. He rose. Not by changing his outer world, but by changing his relationship to it. He learned to rule himself when the world refused to be ruled. That's Stoic well-being, not the absence of suffering, but the presence of something stronger within you. Centuries later, on the throne of the Roman Empire, Marcus Aurelius practiced the same discipline. His meditations weren't written for fame. They were letters to himself, reminders scratched in the margins of his soul. Every night, after leading armies and governing nations, he returned to the page to ask, "What did I do well? Where did I falter? How can I be better tomorrow?" In one passage, he writes, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the call of Stoicism. It doesn't ask you to be a philosopher. It asks you to live as one, to build the good life with the small bricks of daily attention: how you speak, how you respond, how you choose when no one's watching. Marcus knew that well-being wasn't handed to emperors. It had to be earned like anyone else's, day by day, mistake by mistake, through effort. Seneca, another titan of Stoicism, lived in the heart of Roman wealth and power. But he saw clearly the emptiness that can hide behind gold. It is not that we have a short time to live, he warned, but that we waste much of it. Seneca's letters teach us that well-being is not about abundance, it's about intention. You can have everything and still be restless, or you can have very little and still be full. The difference lies in what you attend to, what you practice, what you value, and what you practice, you become. That is the quiet genius of the Stoics. They knew we're not born strong, we become strong through repetition, through watching ourselves like a craftsman watches the shape of stone. A good life isn't something you buy or achieve. It is something you carve, little by little, from the raw material of each day. Think of well-being as a fortress, not made of stone, but of principles. Not built in a weekend, but over years. Each time you choose patience instead of rage, a brick is laid. Each time you sit in discomfort and do not flee, another brick. Each moment of honesty, of self-reflection, of temperance, more bricks. Eventually, the walls stand tall, you feel safe within yourself. Not because the world has calmed, but because your mind has. The Stoics didn't teach us to escape life, they taught us to engage with it more fully, to see every challenge not as an interruption, but as an invitation to practice. This is what Zeno meant. The process itself is the point. Well-being isn't a place you arrive, it's the path you choose, over and over. 1,000 small steps taken with your eyes open and your heart anchored in what matters. We often look for big solutions, transformative weekends, grand breakthroughs. But Stoicism turns our gaze inward, toward the subtle, the consistent. Seneca advised writing each evening what we did well and where we failed. Marcus reviewed his actions every day. Epictetus guided his students to examine their judgments constantly. These weren't rituals of guilt, they were habits of growth. The Stoics also understood that culture often seduces us into believing we are either fixed or broken. But no one is born disciplined, or calm, or wise. These qualities are not given, they are trained. And that training is never loud. It's not Instagrammable. It doesn't ask for attention. It asks for honesty. Honesty to admit when we've been reactive. Honesty to recognize when we've avoided discomfort. Honesty to say, today I missed a step, but tomorrow I try again. In India's ancient tradition of Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita speaks of karma yoga, the path of action done without attachment to outcome. That's Stoicism too. You plant a seed, you water it. You don't demand the fruit arrive now. You simply do what is yours to do, each day, with care, with clarity, with courage. The Buddha taught the same in different words. Drop by drop is the water pot filled. Even liberation, in that view, is not sudden. It comes like the sun rising, not all at once, but steadily, imperceptibly. Then one day, the light fills everything. So here's a question. If the Stoics built their entire lives on small, repeated acts of virtue, why do we wait for some giant change to begin our own? Maybe the real question is not, when will I be happy? But rather, what am I building today? And if today's answer is honest, thoughtful, small, and steady, then perhaps that is already the answer. In today's world, the idea of progress has been hijacked by urgency. Notifications, algorithms, morning routines that promise billionaire-level success in 5 steps. We scroll through lives that seem more perfect than our own. We chase faster solutions, louder breakthroughs, instant healing. But Stoicism offers us an invitation to slow down. It does not promise transformation in a weekend. It suggests that the life you long for may already be within reach if you are willing to return to the basics again and again with care. Consider the rhythm of a day. The alarm rings. You reach for your phone. A flood of headlines, opinions, and updates enters your mind before your feet even touch the ground. The Stoics would ask, who is steering your ship? If your first act is reaction, you've already lost control. But what if you began differently? With a pause, with a breath, with one question: what can I truly control today? This is the first Stoic habit centering. Marcus Aurelius wrote, when you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Before we rush outward, the Stoics remind us to return inward. A simple morning journaling practice, just 5 quiet minutes, can anchor your intentions. You might ask, what challenges may come today? How can I meet them with dignity? What virtues will I choose to embody? Such a ritual isn't about productivity, it's about presence. Epictetus taught that we should begin each day like an archer stringing his bow. You don't enter the battlefield unprepared. You choose your stance, your aim, your mindset. These preparations, though small, shape everything. Now bring this to the workplace. We often enter meetings carrying anxiety, ambition, competition. But the Stoics advise us to shift focus from outcomes to process, from approval to integrity. Seneca wrote, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. In a world obsessed with achievement, the Stoic path asks, are you aligned with your values in how you work? Do your efforts reflect your principles? The reward, then, is not the result, but the kind of person you are becoming as you pursue it. Relationships offer another field of practice. We cannot control others, only how we respond to them. So when conflict arises, when someone criticizes, dismisses, or misunderstands you, what then? The Stoic approach is simple, though not easy. Pause before reacting. Ask, is this within my control? If not, let it go. If so, act wisely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Every time we choose restraint over retaliation, we build the fortress of our inner peace. A powerful tool here is the Stoic practice of negative visualization. Each morning or evening, imagine losing something you take for granted, a loved one, your health, your home, not to depress, but to awaken gratitude. Epictetus suggested that we remember the impermanence of all things so that we might treasure them more fully. Modern psychology now supports this. Gratitude strengthens mental resilience. But the Stoics knew this thousands of years ago, not as theory, but as a lived habit. Your evening, too, can become a ritual. Before sleep, reflect. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What lesson will I carry into tomorrow? Seneca practiced this nightly review, writing, when the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent. I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said. This isn't judgment, it's refinement. Each day becomes a page in the story of who you are becoming. And what about the smallest things? Choosing not to check your phone in bed, drinking water slowly, noticing the sky. These seem trivial, but Stoicism teaches us that every choice trains the soul. There are no neutral actions. Each one moves you closer to virtue or further away. That is why the Stoics honored simplicity not as minimalism, but as clarity. To live with less distraction, less noise, more essence. In our age of biohacking and mental performance apps, we might be tempted to look for optimization. But the Stoics looked for alignment. They asked, am I living in accordance with nature? With reason, with my highest self? That's a deeper question. And it doesn't require more tools, it requires more attention. Modern science, interestingly, has begun to echo this ancient wisdom. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, one of the most effective psychological treatments today, is rooted in the ideas of Epictetus. He taught that it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. CBT helps patients examine those judgments, challenge their distortions, and reframe their thinking just as the Stoics did. Positive psychology, too, emphasizes that consistent, small habits like gratitude journaling or mindful breathing can rewire the brain toward well-being. It turns out, the ancient philosophers knew what today's neuroscientists are just beginning to confirm, that character is built slowly, that calm is trained, that happiness is a practice. Even in Eastern traditions, the same thread appears. In Hinduism, karma yoga teaches us to act without attachment to results. The Bhagavad Gita tells us, you have the right to the work, but not to the fruit of the work. This echoes the Stoic ideal of focusing on the action, not the outcome. In Buddhism, mindfulness is the act of returning again and again to the present, noticing the breath, the step, the thought. That's Stoicism too. Different language, same path. And what does this mean for you? It means that the life you seek may not require more books, more tools, more time. It may require less. Less rushing, less craving, less avoidance. It may require showing up each day and doing one small thing with care, drinking tea with full attention, choosing silence over impulse, writing one line of gratitude, apologizing, stretching, breathing. These are not glamorous. They will not trend, but they work, and if you do them again tomorrow, and the next day, something changes. Slowly, quietly, you become someone different. Not because you chase change, but because you practice being present. This is the Stoic life, not grand, not easy, but solid, whole, free. Not every day will feel like progress. Some days you will forget, you'll react. You'll fall back into old patterns. That's okay. The Stoics never demanded perfection, only persistence. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, when jarred, unavoidably, by circumstances, revert at once to yourself, and don't lose the rhythm more than you can help. You'll have a better grasp of harmony if you keep going back to it. So keep going back, even when it's small, especially when it's small. Because well-being, true well-being, is nothing less than the echo of your smallest choices. Imagine, for a moment, that your life is a quiet garden. Each day, whether you're aware of it or not, you plant something there, a word, a reaction, a thought, a decision. Most of these are so small, they go unnoticed. But over weeks, months, years, those little seeds take root. They bloom into habits, into relationships, into the atmosphere of your entire inner world. Now ask yourself, what have you been planting? Zeno's words echo here with quiet power. Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself. He did not mean this as metaphor. He meant it as instruction. In every small act of kindness, restraint, gratitude, and presence, you are shaping the very thing we all seek, a life of peace, integrity, and inner freedom. And yet, most of us forget, not because we are lazy, but because we are distracted. The noise of modern life rewards drama, speed, and attention-grabbing. Stoicism reminds us that what is truly valuable is often silent, slow, and steady. Let us pause and reflect. If you overlook the little things, what exactly are you building each day? When you let impatience, scrolling, or anger take root repeatedly, what kind of garden will grow? Seneca warned us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most of our pain comes not from events, but from the way we allow small disturbances to accumulate, unexamined, unchecked. And the cure is just as subtle, noticing, shifting, repeating. Let's return to the story of the fortress. Earlier, we spoke of building it brick by brick. But this is not just a metaphor. Marcus Aurelius literally wrote his thoughts each night, not to impress others, but to reinforce his foundation. When the world outside shifted, war, betrayal, plague, he had a place within himself that remained unmoved. That place wasn't built in a crisis, it was cultivated quietly, one meditation at a time. So, what would it look like for you to begin today? Not with some dramatic overhaul of your life, but with one chosen act. one conscious breath before replying, one honest journal entry at night, one effort to observe instead of react. These are not glamorous. They will not be featured on headlines or praised on social media, but they are the fabric of well-being. There's a beautiful teaching in Buddhist Zen called just this. It means, whatever you are doing, just this. Washing the dishes, walking to the store, holding a cup of tea. No multitasking, no rushing to the next moment, just this. The Stoics, too, understood this principle. Epictetus advised, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. In other words, don't perform, live. Perhaps this is the great error of modern living. We try to consume wisdom rather than become it. We binge books, podcasts, teachings, but neglect the quiet daily acts that embody their lessons. The Stoics urge us to reverse that. Read less if needed, but apply more. Do not be a collector of insight, but a practitioner of it. And here's something surprising. This approach is radically hopeful. It means you are never too far gone, never to behind. Because at any moment, with any breath, you can begin again. That is the quiet mercy of this path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Even your failures, your detours, your regrets, they can become bricks in the fortress if you learn from them. Let's consider what we've explored so far. In part 1, we saw that transformation isn't loud. It's quiet. Real well-being begins with a shift in how we show up, slowly, intentionally. In part 2, we explored how the Stoics lived this truth. Zeno, Seneca, Marcus, Epictetus, each one understood that philosophy was not theory, but practice. And in part 3, we examined the practical rituals that still matter today. Morning journaling, evening reflection, conscious breathing, restraint in relationships, awareness of what we can and cannot control. Now, in this final reflection, the question becomes, what will you do with this? You don't need a full life plan. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. And not just once, but again and again, each day, each hour if needed. This is the beauty of Stoicism. It meets you wherever you are, not with demands, but with reminders. Not with rules, but with guidance. Think of it this way, your life is not something to conquer. It is something to tend, like a flame you protect from wind. Like a garden you water even when it hasn't yet bloomed. And this is why Zeno's statement is so enduring. Because he didn't just describe how well-being is built. He gave us permission to start small. To begin with what we can do. To focus not on results, but on integrity. And to understand that this kind of happiness, the kind that lasts, is never accidental. It is earned quietly, patiently, little by little. As you return to your day, to work, to family, to routine, consider carrying one thought with you. Nothing is too small. No effort is wasted. Each decision, no matter how minor, is a note in the music of your life. Choose well, repeat. That's all. Now, as we near the end of this meditation, let's take a breath together. Inhale, exhale. Let go of the rush. Let go of the pressure to be extraordinary. What if your best life ain't waiting somewhere in the future, but unfolding now, in the smallest things you do with full awareness? Imagine this. You're walking through a quiet forest path at sunrise. The leaves are still, the ground is soft beneath your feet. There's no hurry, no destination, just the rhythm of your steps, the whisper of trees, the slow unfolding of morning light. Each step is deliberate, each breath is calm, and with every movement, you remember, you are here. You are alive, you are enough. This is what well-being feels like. Not a triumph, not a breakthrough, but a homecoming. Epictetus once said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. So begin, today, not with a grand gesture, but with one small act. Write something kind, breathe with intention. Walk without your phone. Choose stillness when you can. These aren't signs of weakness, they are signals of wisdom. And most of all, remember, you don't need to change everything. You only need to change this moment, and then the next, and then the next. This is the path. It is quiet, it is ordinary, and it leads to the extraordinary. Thank you for walking this journey with us. See you in the next meditation.